Good evening, folks. It's Javier Blog 208 coming to you live at 2:51 p.m. on September 23rd, 2020. Lovely weather today. First day of fall, but what temperature is going to be in the 70s for the rest of the week. I'm here to give my views on Trump and the 2020 election. I'm actually both candidates in the 2020 election. So I'm just going to get started and just kind of talk about some different topics like the positives and negatives of Trump, the coronavirus, the economy, all that stuff, and just my plain views on both of them. All right. There's one candidate right now that I'm leaning toward, and I'm not going to say which one it is, but it is. I'm going to be letting you guys know before the election for sure. I'm just going to kind of give my thoughts on it. All right, with all honesty, Trump has done a lot of good, with the economy especially. I've always felt and believed that he sincerely loves his country, and his heart is in the right place. Always being attacked by the media, being impeached, and still prevailing. He sent a powerful statement as president. Now let's talk about this. All right, so first of all, in my opinion, I think his impeachment was unjust. I think that, it was wrong what he did to call the Ukrainian minister and, try to find dirt on Joe Biden's son. I think that was absolutely wrong. And I think that should have been condemned and that should have been censored. However, at the same time, I don't think that impeachment, and let alone removal from office, was the right thing to do at all, or a right decision to make. So I was totally against the impeachment, and I was definitely against removing him from office for this minor crime. What he did was very minor. I think that a lot of it was done on hatred on Pelosi's part, and I don't think that was wrong. He's always been attacked by the media. Very accurate. Very accurate. The media, and I believe in fake news, to an extent. The media is not fair with him, in my opinion. And they're always slandering and attacking him in different ways, in very, very dishonest ways, honestly. Like, for example, there was no evidence, not a shred of evidence, and several people came forward that were with him on that day, that he said those things about the fallen veterans. I don't believe he called them losers and suckers. I don't believe that he did, because I don't see any evidence for it. And even John Bolton and some other folks that were with him on that day say that they've never heard him say that. So several people came forward, open sources, and they say that they never heard him say that. So I'm just going to have to stand by that, and rather than these anonymous sources that are from the media that are always bashing and attacking him anyway. But again, it's simply not the first. The media is all, you turn on CNN or, MSNBC, they're always unfairly attacking Donald Trump. So that kind of sums it up with the media. I believe when it comes to the economy that he has done a spectacular job. We've seen, businesses coming back in all sorts, and, just kind of a booming economy and just businesses thriving, and just in general, before the coronavirus hit. I don't believe, however, that he gets all the credit for the Black and Hispanic record low unemployments. He wants to claim all that credit for himself, but I don't believe that he gets all that credit at the end of the day. I believe that there was a variety of factors to that credit, including some that come from the Obama administration. Of course, it's just, what it is. But at the end of the day, I think he did do a great job when it comes to the economy. I believe he sincerely loves his country. And I feel like, when you look at him sincerely, he has a love for this country. He really does, like a sincere to heart love for America. And I see that, and I really do believe that. All right, there's times when I feel sorry for him. Of course I am. There's times when he looks worn out, beaten down, being down by all the people who hate on him constantly. And, I condemn, when the left is always hating on him. I do. Now let's talk about some of the negative aspects of Trump. He is a great fearmongerer, a big-time fearmongerer. He knows how to play his base. He knows how to push fear on his base to pretty much control them and embolden them and anger them. And that is one thing that is a very negative aspect of him, because, when you look at his base, then he's, the way he talks to them is that he emboldens them, he angers them, he demonizes the other side, he demonizes the Democrats, he demonizes his political opponents. He calls them, radical Democrats, socialists, communists, all this stuff, the leftist mob, all that stuff. So he demonizes, Obama and Joe Biden, and he plays into just this genuine hatred for Democrats. Hatred for Democrats. And as my brother said, I quote, hang on one second. Dang, this chat has been very, very long. There's a political chat that I'm in that I'm just very, not really engaged in, but just kind of following it. There's like several people in this chat. But my brother laid it out real nicely. His name is Julian. He's right now in Oregon trying to get away from these wildfires. Just bear with me one second here. So I said to him, I get emails directly from Donald Trump, and I'll be honest, he sends some pretty scary stuff. Stuff demonizing like the Democrats, the leftist mob, and all that, Obama, and just talking about how evil the Democrats are. And I don't believe that. I really don't. I don't believe that. I don't believe it. And just stuff that's just like meant to scare people, meant to terrify people about the opposing side, and just really meant to demonize them. So my brother agrees with me. I do too. It's hate-filled and disgusting. And I say to him, yes, I agree. He's intentionally pinning people against one another. He wants people to fall for his fear-mongering and finger-pointing. So that sums it up perfectly, and that is probably the most negative aspect of him. If he could just stop doing that and be a civil president, a president who exemplifies civility, who's not, enraging and angering his base, who's not, pushing massive fear on his base to the other side, who's not causing his base to hate Democrats, to hate people on the other side, who's not pushing all this leftist mob, socialist, Democrat stuff. I don't believe any of that. I really don't. I think for myself, and as you see here at the beginning of this video, I have said a lot of positive things about him, but all this stuff, in my opinion, is just garbage. It's meant to fearmonger and demonize people, saying that Joe Biden, wants to, remove God or whatever, remove the Bible. All this is crap. This is crap. And that leads me to my views on Joe Biden. So I want to make clear my views on Joe Biden. At the same time, I admire Joe Biden. I admired him a lot, throughout. His son was a veteran. He's always been a man who lived by his faith and made it an important part of his life. A man whose heart was prepared for this through trials and tribulations and profound grief. Losing his former wife and infant daughter in a car accident. Losing his son to cancer. He's been through a lot in his life. And I really believe that he has, and I see it. And I believe he has a good heart, a sincere heart. And he's a man who wants to work across the aisle. He has a willingness and a want to work across the aisle. And I think that, if he does get elected, that he's going to make a great leader. I'm sure some of you may want to turn this video off right now. But I'm just speaking the truth. I'm speaking what I think based on, my followings of Biden, based on me listening to things that he says. And just in general, he's a good man. He has a good heart. He does love his country. He has a sincere love for his country too. Like Trump, he has, not in the same way, but he has a love for it. He really loves his country. And he's a supporter of our vets. And he wants to work across the aisle. He wants to be a president for Democrats and Republicans, despite being the Democratic nominee. And I really think that if he gets elected, he's going to make a great president. And I think that if he gets elected, I'm going to pray for him. Every day I want to pray for him. At the same time, though, I already talked about the fake news. I don't really pay attention to the media. This is all really just thinking for myself. I've shared with you some of Trump's positives and negatives. When it comes to the coronavirus, I do admit that, Trump probably should have acted, at the beginning. And it probably would have saved a lot of lives. I don't know really much about this 200,000 dead number. I don't really know how much I believe that or not. But, at the end of the day, I was never a supporter of, shutting down businesses. I was never a supporter of, shutting down churches. I think that's a very, very nasty of the left to, well, I don't want to say that, but, very nasty of them to do that. Like, at the end of the day, churches, a church should have the right to choose, the right to say whether we're going to gather or whether we're going to close. A church should have that right to pick that, especially today with this virus, and everything going on. People need to have the right to go to church, to gather and worship, as the Bible says, when 2 or 3 come together in my name, I am there with them. It doesn't say virtually, but it says when 2 or 3 come together in my name. A church, an individual congregation, a house of worship, church should have the right to say, I trust God for protection. I trust God for protection. They should have the right to say that. And Christians and believers should have the right to trust God and go to church. Of course, if a church wishes to shut down because of the pandemic, that's fine. Not a decision I agree with personally, but that's fine. It's when the government forces churches to shut down. That's unconstitutional. It's a violation of freedom of religion. And technically, it's a violation of separation of church and state. The real meaning of it was to keep the government out of churches, out of religion. It's not okay. It's not okay. Forcing businesses to shut down. I was at the Boston Public Market the other day. When it comes to that, they've been closed since March, and they just reopened in September. I went in there and I talked to some of the people in there, and they said that they've been out of work for the last 6 months. So you're seeing businesses that have been suffering, millions of people unemployed. And I'm not blaming Trump for it. At the end of the day, the reality is that because they're so insistent, particularly Democrat-run states, are so insistent of shutting down the businesses, of forcing businesses to close, restaurants to close, small businesses to close, all that stuff. As a result, millions of people were out of work. And we get one stimulus check of $1,200. That came, I think, back in April. But that's it. Nothing to help these people. These people are suffering. They're struggling. They're suffering. They've been out of work. They can't pay their rent. It's been really, really, really bad. So, when it comes to reopening, we need to get people back to work. People need to get back to work. People need to, businesses need to open up again. At the same time, people need to stop all this stuff, and they definitely shouldn't be shutting down churches. So it's just really bad to see so many people unemployed. It's unconstitutional. It violates free enterprise. And I truly believe that during this coronavirus, in the name of so-called quote-unquote public health, a lot of people, a lot of constitutional rights have been violated. So there's my say on that. I've been agreeing with Trump on a lot of that stuff lately when it comes to, the reopening and all that and all this. And, in reality, wearing masks is not normal. I understand it's for safety, but personally, I believe that, we should respect people's, rights. It's just not a norm. It's just, people shouldn't be, it shouldn't be mandated and enforced on people. The government shouldn't make us their dress-up dolls at the end of the day. I understand it's for safety, and I understand that it probably should be encouraged, especially around, high populated places, Maybe individual places could mandate masks, like malls, or places with where large groups of people gather. Yeah, sure, mandate masks, but it shouldn't be done even at the state level. It should be done at like the individual, business level, like malls or shopping centers or all that. But at the end of the day, when it came to Donald Trump, I feel like he's been more on the side of liberty when it comes to, our individual liberties, our right to travel, our right to go to church, our right to, have our businesses open. And I've been, in agreement with him on a lot of that. The right to or to not wear a mask, obviously, you really should when you're around large groups of people. And I do when I'm around large groups of people, like that I don't know, like at malls or other places. You really should, because it's a safety thing. But it shouldn't be mandated by the government. But anyway, that's my take on that. How is Trump done with the coronavirus? In my opinion, Trump has, we can't blame these so-called 200,000 deaths all on him. We really can't. That comes from a variety of factors. It comes from, at the state level and all that stuff. But, the only fault he has is he didn't act right away. Like when Ebola hit, Obama, reacted right away, the Obama administration, and only 2 people died. Whether it's 200,000 or not, a lot of people did die from this virus. And so that pretty much, I think that, he could have done better. I think that if Joe Biden does get in there, he's going to really crack down on it for the good, for the better, or for the worse. And it's going to be, very interesting to see how it plays out. But if we can get this virus on, at the end of the day, getting this virus under control is definitely what we are going to hope for, mandated vaccines, I don't agree with. But yeah, this is pretty much summing up, I guess, in conclusion to this video here, I see the good in both of them. And really, I see the bad in both of them. I see, Biden, he's kind of, abandoned some of his pro-life morals. And that's my biggest issue with him, in my honest opinion. It's my biggest issue with him. I don't believe in this leftist mob stuff, this, radical democratic socialist stuff. I don't believe in that. But at the end of the day, that's just all fear-mongering on Trump's part. And, the negatives of Trump are all this fear-mongering and demonizing of opponents and demonizing of the other side and emboldening his supporters and angering his supporters. And really, my only issue with Biden is, his, backtracking on some of his pro-life stances that he used to hold. But again, I see good in them, sincere love for his country, for Donald Trump, really good with the economy, all that stuff. He really cares, We need a leader who looks to God, and I believe that both candidates both candidates technically do look to God. Like Trump talks about God and Biden talks about God, and we really shouldn't be judging one or the other's faith, saying which one's the Christian candidate or which one's, God's chosen one, at the end of the day. Both good men, both, honorable men, I guess. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to, at the end of the day, if regardless of who wins, it's going to be interesting. Trump has definitely been an adventure since he started, and we're just going to have to see where it all goes. So I guess I can conclude this here. Thanks for watching. Take care. Javier Block 208 tuning out.